Welcome to Prayer and Bible Band, Lesson 11. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is how God used women in the Bible. The background reading is coming out of Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, Genesis chapter 2, verses 21 through 25, Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 through 22, Judges chapter 5 verses 24 through 27, Joel chapter 2 verses 28 through 29, Mark chapter 14 verses 5 through 9. The devotional reading is coming out of 2 Samuel chapter 20 verses 16 through 22. The central verse. I will read the King James Version first and then the New International Version of Acts chapter 9, verse 36. Now there was at Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation is called Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and alms deeds, which she did. The New International Version. In Joppa there was a disciple named Tabitha. In Greek her name is Dorcas. She was always doing good and helping the poor. The key terms for today's lesson: helpmeet and alms deeds. Helpmeet, one who is a companion and helper, especially a female partner in a marriage. Alms deeds, an act of giving alms, the habitual practice of giving alms. The introduction: God is not a respecter of persons. He loves all his children the same. His word says that as many as are led by the Spirit of the Lord, they are the sons of God. Joel told the believer that in the last days, God would pour out his Spirit upon all flesh, and that his sons and daughters would prophesy. Old men would dream dreams, and young men would see visions. And upon his handmaiden, he will pour out his Spirit. When believers understand the divine order of God, they will understand that there is neither male nor female. They are all sons. The discussion. From the early days of humanity, God has used women. God gave Adam and Eve dominion over his earth. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his image, and God blessed them. And God said, in the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. He told them to be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. God gave the woman the same command that he gave to Adam, for he blessed them. He gave them, the two of them. God allowed man and woman to be partners and gave women the ability to be the helpmeet. Whatever a man wants to do, the woman has been given the ability and the authority to be a helpmeet to him. When God needed men to be judges for Israel, he chose 12 men to lead. But he chose a 13th person, who was a woman. Deborah was a woman of integrity, who had a good standing with her husband and the community. God wants men and women who are void of offense toward him and humanity. She was a woman of wisdom, for she knew how to entreat the men as well as the women. Therefore, she was able to give righteous judgment to the people of God. In our denomination, we have several women who are lawyers and judges, because he has made a place for women. Deborah was able to help encourage Barak and help him to lead Israel to victory. She was a strong, fearless woman of God. God has never excluded women from carrying out his plan for his purpose, for his people. After the Hebrews had been in Egypt for several years and had multiplied, the Pharaoh spoke to the midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, and told them to make sure that all boy babies be put to death as infants. The midwives were told that if a boy was born, to kill him, but if it was a girl, let her live. The midwives feared God and refused to kill those babies. When they were questioned, the king asked them, "Why have you done this thing and saved the male children alive?" The midwives had an answer for the king. They told him that the Hebrew women were not like the Egyptian women, for they were lively and delivered their babies before the midwives got there. God dealt well with them, and they were given houses. Moses' mother was a woman with great insight. She saw something extraordinary in the life of her son. When the king had decreed that all boy babies be killed during their birth, she decided not to, so she hid him. She had the ingenuity to make a basket, seal it with pitch, and send her daughter to look after him. She was wise enough to put him in the area where Pharaoh's daughter normally bathed. This young woman knew that he was a Hebrew baby, but she saved him from the river and raised him as her own. The mother was able to pour into Moses as a lad, and Pharaoh's daughter was able to provide the secular education that he needed to equip him for the task of leadership. Later, it was said that Moses chose to suffer affliction with the people of God than enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, because God used two women to pour into him. God used women as Philip's daughters as prophetesses. He used Tabitha as a disciple, Deborah as a judge, the woman in Samuel to save the city from Abner's folly, and so many others. A woman started the first Gentile church and housed it in her home. He used Priscilla to help her husband Aquila to teach Apollo. And the list goes on. Paul instructed the brethren to help those women who labored in the ministry. The conclusion: God will use any woman who is willing to commit her way unto him. In the book of Mark, there was a woman who had no religious background. She had not lived a holy life, while Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper. A woman came in with an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard, very precious, and she broke the box and poured it on his head. Some were not happy with her doing this, for they felt it was a waste. One said that she could have sold it for a nice amount of money and given it to the poor. They murmured against her, but Jesus told them to leave her alone. Her name is not given in the passage of Mark. Jesus said that she had done a wonderful thing, for she had anointed his body beforehand for his burial. Jesus made a declaration that wherever the gospel would be preached throughout the entire world, what she had done would be spoken of as a memorial of her. The questions for today's lesson. Question 1. Why did God think that Adam needed a mate? Question 2. Why do you think God added Deborah to the list of judges? Question 3. What did Tabitha do to help the ministry? Question 4. Why did the woman pour on Jesus' head? The essential thought: this is a man's world, but they cannot get along without a woman or a girl. In the end, God bless you and thank you for joining me today.